Look, I think a lot of people start off in their career running from something, and I'll tell you what it was in my case. I think, I was always a shy and introverted kid, and I had this fear of, it was a couple things. I felt like, people didn't listen to me. They didn't maybe like, I felt like I have such good ideas, but I'm not like confident, I'm not articulate, and I couldn't get people to like hear my ideas. And then I think I had this like deep fear about never doing something important in my life. And I don't even really know exactly where that came from. But I was like, I'm gonna gosh darn do. Can I swear on this program? I don't know. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna fucking go do something great here or die trying, And I had this real like desire to, maybe it was like a status thing or a sense of importance. I didn't feel important or worthwhile like on my on my own, which is like a deep kind of psychological thing. And then I would say that as people kind of, oftentimes in an entrepreneur's life, you grow, you see a little bit of success. And then what happens is the thing that was motivating you, which was probably like fear or anger or, whatever, shame initially kind of starts to go away a little bit. Maybe it's not 100%. And so you start to lose your motivation. And I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs kind of go through this existential moment of crisis after they start to lose the initial thing that was driving them, like fear, anger. And then they have to move towards something that brings them actual joy or love or just that they're actually passionate about. And so I kind of had my own moment of that somewhere along the last 10 years where I started to think, all right, what do I actually like doing now that Coinbase has been, $1 billion valuation or whatever goal I had in my mind. And I was like, okay, well, I love building things with technology. Like that's probably my favorite thing to do. Even if I was alone in a cabin in the woods for like a decade, and I had no human contact, I'd probably just be building things. I don't know what I'd be doing with wood and an axe or, like building a garden or a road or a tree house, or I'd be doing something and trying to make fire or whatever. And then the other thing I love doing is learning new things. So I'm always like curious. I'm trying to absorb new knowledge, and being a company CEO is always pushing you outside your comfort zone into new areas. And then I guess the last thing I love is, it makes me feel good to try to do things at scale that have an impact on like the big meta problems of the world. And so, if I see like, oh, we went from 1 million people are using this to 10 million or something, it just gives me a high. I don't know why. It gets me excited about, oh my gosh, like we can have even more impact. And some people, they don't have that. They're very content having an impact with, a classroom of 30 kids, or maybe just helping one person that they're mentoring or whatever. And they find that incredibly fulfilling. And I think that's great. For me, I don't get the same feeling unless I'm trying to do something at scale that has like a major impact on the world. So that's a little bit about my journey.
Can I ask, I'm with you. The trouble is you never get off the treadmill. And
Yeah.
what I mean by that is you get to 10 million users. I don't know, Coinbase obviously has many, many, many more. I mean, I obviously read, Super was 20 million people, hitting Coinbase website. Like the scale is enormous. But then I know you, Brian, like I'm probably the same. Well, what about next quarter? What about the next month? And you never actually sit with the happiness. Do you ever get off the treadmill? And do you worry about that?
Yeah, so I have definitely thought about that because I'm not somebody who's really good at celebrating. Usually by the time I accomplish some goal that I've set, maybe I've worked on it for years, by the time I actually hit it, I'm usually not even thinking about it. I'm like, because, by the time you're at like 60%, 70%, you're like, oh my gosh, I can see where this is going. Like it's gonna get there in the next 6 months or a year, or just even if I did nothing, because a lot of the hard work is up front. And so it's not like I have some kind of moment of like, oh my gosh, it feels so good and I hit the goal. Like honestly, I don't really feel that, but I do feel like a deep sense of fulfillment, I would say, just about if I look at where I was 10 years ago or where I'm now or a year ago, and I was like, okay, I feel like I'm making progress. I'm doing something good in the world. And then, by the way, like obviously I take time to kind of do other things in life besides work, right? Like I work with my partner and family and friends and like just have fun. But I think if I wasn't working on something hard and really difficult, I wouldn't feel as fulfilled. I've tried going on vacation, and for, after like 2 or 3 or 4 days, I'm just like, this is, I need to go read something. I need to learn something. I need to build something. So it's almost like an addiction. I've had this thought before. I have no like evidence to back this up, but, I almost feel like some successful people, people have all kinds of addictions, right? Social media and drugs and like various things. I happen to be addicted. Yeah, soda. I happen to be addicted to building things and scaling them. And sometimes, I'll overdo it, and I'm like, oh my God, like I haven't taken a day off in like however long or whatever, and I'm like, I really need to balance it. I'm almost overdoing it. So it's like a form of like addiction that I think is sort of positive for the world, hopefully. But yeah, everything, look, I constantly go back and forth between, look, you should have more balance in your life, and you don't have to, what's the point of all this crazy stuff? Maybe you should have kids, and I'm working on that too. But then the other part of me is like, whatever, never stop. If I find it fulfilling, I'd rather just keep building things and do that for the next, 50 years or more, hopefully, if we get longevity stuff working. So, I hope that if you can make work like your career fun, you'll never work a day in your life. So it's oftentimes when it does work, it's getting to a place where, I'm traveling to something ostensibly for work, but I'm having fun at the same time. I'm meeting with friends, people I haven't seen in a long time. I'll go on a hike. I'll go to dinner with interesting people. I think like Jeff Bezos had this term one time where he talked about, it's not work-life balance, it's work-life harmony. And I personally feel that. Like if I go somewhere for a week with nothing to do but sit on the beach, I find it to be, and go to museums and stuff, I find it to be like not that fun. But if I go to something like, I'm going to be in Tokyo, later this year or whatever for work, we have an office there, and I can meet interesting people there and see friends that I haven't seen and have great food, but I'm doing work mostly during the day. So that's my current approach.